everyone, I'm Christina. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Nothing confrontational, no debates today. We're going to focus on a little bit of positive news that came out this week. In this article by Veg News called Why Only 8% of Gen Z Say They Won't Adopt a Vegan Diet. Survey. Often considered the demographic that is most concerned about the climate crisis, a new survey illuminates Gen Z's thoughts on a vegan diet, written by Anna Starostinitskaya. I can't pronounce that. Anna Starostinitskaya. So what intrigued me about this article is that it's about Gen Z. I'm also part of the Gen Z. I'm interested to know more about the statistics of our attitudes towards the vegan diet or veganism in general. We'll be doing a little bit of generational analysis in this video, if you will. There's a general sense that Gen Z's attitudes toward veganism are positive and supportive, with members of this generation often credited for driving the advancement of the plant-based segment. Increasingly concerned with their own well-being, it is thought that Gen Z sees veganism not only as a way to promote animal welfare, but also as a means to combat climate change, reduce their carbon footprint, and promote sustainability. Yeah, I think this is very accurate. I think generally Gen Z is mostly interested in sustainability. A lot of the Gen Zers I know are fighting for a better world, a better climate in general. They're environmentalists. And definitely veganism is a great way to lower your personal carbon footprint. And personally, I know a lot of Gen Z vegetarians for the environment. That's kind of the risk if you change your diet for the environment. A lot of people stop at meat because everyone knows that meat is bad for the climate. Everyone knows that meat uses incredible amounts of resources and water and land, as well as greenhouse gas emissions and stuff. There's this chart about all different kinds of foods and how much greenhouse gas emissions they have. At the very top is beef, and then other meats, and then milk and dairy and eggs, and then every plant food is way below that. If the environmentalists want to be consistent, they should definitely go vegan or eat a plant-based diet instead of a vegetarian one. But that's kind of the danger when you go vegan for something else than for the animals. There's a different stopping point for other people. Social media is also thought to play a significant role in shaping Gen Z's attitudes towards veganism, with many influencers and celebrities promoting plant-based diets. Major brands are responding to this trend. And I think that's more dangerous. Gen Zers going vegan for their health or because of influencers, that is not sustainable at all. I think that they are the first ones to fall off because, of course, once that celebrity stops being vegan, which very often happens with plant-based dieters and trends and stuff, they will also stop being vegan because it's not the thing anymore. Whereas veganism as a philosophy against the exploitation of animals always stands strong. MIDSS surveyed 3,112 individuals born between 1997 and 2012, divided into two groups, 2,101 vegan Gen Zers and 1,011 non-vegan Gen Zers. Made up of various open-ended questions, the survey aimed to understand the attitudes of Gen Zers in both groups toward veganism and then compared the two to ascertain differences in options. The study found that half of vegan Gen Zers, 50%, cited health as the main reason for adopting the diet. Well, that worries me because going vegan for health completely misses the point. First of all, because it's a completely selfish reason to go vegan, and they'll probably find another selfish reason to stop being vegan, right? It's the same logic. There's lots of people that, go from vegan to pescatarian or something because fish is healthy, right? Instead of just trying to obtain those same nutrients you get from fish from plant sources. I've more of a problem with health vegans than with environmental vegans, honestly. But any kind of veganism that is not centered on the animals and their exploitation is just not strong enough. Interestingly, more than half, 51% of this group, also stated that understanding the health benefits was the biggest obstacle in starting the diet. So does that mean that they're admitting that they were ignorant about the health consequences or benefits of veganism before going vegan, and then as they learned, they decided to go vegan? I guess. No, I agree that, knowledge is power in general, but I wouldn't say understanding the health aspect of it is what causes most people to change. I think understanding the ethics is way more important. And, Veg News calls these people that they surveyed vegans when a lot of them are probably plant-based dieters who are doing it for health or for the environment and not for the animals. Technically speaking, those are not vegans. And I do think we should be clear on the terminology because veganism is a philosophical movement and plant-based eating is something completely different. even though they seem to overlap, but they do not. They're not the same thing. A major barrier for non vegans. 37% indicated that their cravings for non vegan food, mostly meat, are stopping them from going vegan. A possible explanation for this, given the variety of plant based meat products on the market, is that Gen Z's parents, which typically come from Gen X, have a limited understanding and/or access to plant based meat alternatives. I think most Gen Zers don't live with their parents anymore or are not dependent on their parents anymore. Like the oldest are born in 97, so they're 26 by now, right? I'm 19. I'm not living with my parents anymore. The ones born from like 2005 to 2010, which are also part of Gen Z, are still dependent on their parents. So that makes sense. But in that case, I would say, yeah, limited understanding is probably the cause of it, or, conservative parents. Gone are the days that one needs to only eat tofu and rice every day as a staple of veganism. I mean, did you ever only have to eat tofu and rice every day as a vegan? Like, older vegans let me know. Like, just because there weren't plant based meat alternatives, you didn't have to eat like bland every day, right? There are countless new products on the market that are completely plant based and mimic their animal counterparts well. These new alternatives are rich in flavor and nutrients, which should make them widely acceptable to this generation. Yeah, I think it definitely does take away an obstacle that people have because it's much more convenient to be vegan. It's much easier to just replace what you were eating before with alternatives instead of thinking of a whole new meal that you can make, right? And that's how I first went vegan. I just replaced the dishes that I had with meat alternatives, and it was incredibly easy. It was like a 3-year-old could do it, honestly. So it's really great that they exist. It's really great that they're out there. But the thing is that people who are resistant towards veganism will still think of a different excuse. They will just keep coming with excuses until there's nothing left, And I think what has the potential to take away all the excuses that people have is lab grown meat. I think at that point, all the barriers will be down. And at that point, like, since the lab grown meat is the exact same product as, natural animal meat, people will have nowhere to turn for excuses. And they either have to just give in or admit that they're just being selfish and irrational. In addition to health concerns, animal welfare and environmental factors were also cited as reasons for choosing a plant-based diet. However, while 40% of vegans believe that the diet has a positive impact on the environment, 48% of non-vegans doubt that it does. So that's still like a low percentage for vegans. I think a lot of them are not very educated on the impact, I guess, because even the United Nations has said, like, going vegan is like the best thing you can do to lower your personal carbon footprint, and everyone should do that, right? Yeah, this is definitely a matter of education, and I think our governments and stuff should also very much stimulate it more if they want to do more for the environment. What do Gen Zers have in common? Among the vegan Gen Z group, nearly half have been vegan for 2 years or less, while more than 20% have been vegan for more than 3 years. 7 out of 10 respondents in this group indicated that they plan to remain vegan for at least the next 5 years, with 60% saying they will be educating those around them about the benefits of veganism to help them transition. That's actually a really good percentage, I think, of people saying that they'll try to persuade other people or convince other people to go vegan, not necessarily in the animal rights kind of way, but I think it's definitely a very positive thing. I'm actually quite impressed. Generally, the majority of vegan Gen Zers think that veganism is a positive lifestyle that is filled with increasing choice when it comes to food options, and they agree that it is doing the right thing by preserving animals. Interestingly, this is basically almost the only mention about, animal rights or animal welfare in this whole article. So that strikes me as a little bit disappointing from this survey, is that they didn't ask people about their attitudes towards animals and whether animals deserve their own lives or anything like that, or whether, any animal welfare questions or something like that. Seems severely lacking in this survey when that is what veganism is all about. A near identical ratio, 79%, however, of non-vegans indicated that they would not be going vegan in the next 5 years. Yeah, no, I remember I said that right before going vegan. I said, I'll never go vegan, never. And then, you come across something that opens your eyes or that makes you realize something that, like, makes your mind more open to the idea, I guess. It's different things for different people. But this percentage kind of indicates how non-vegans perceive themselves and their own ability or desire to go vegan, not whether it's possible or impossible for them. And obviously, knowledge is power. And once I had the knowledge, I had the power to change. What prevents Gen Z from going vegan? 51% said that they can't give up meat, while 21% indicated that they were worried about nutritional deficiencies. So, what's telling about this, it's very telling actually. Only 20% cited nutritional deficiencies as something they were worried about, as a concern, right? Only 20%. And then 50% admitted that they selfishly can't give up meat because they don't want to, or they're attached to it. And so more people are saying like I don't want to, and less people are saying like I can't, or it's bad for you, you know. And I do definitely see that shifting, which is a good thing. But then again, the amount of people that'll just end up saying like I don't care, I'm selfish, and just be okay with being selfish. Like people who admit that what they're doing is wrong and that it's better to be vegan, but then just say that they're a selfish person and just continue with their life. And like at that point, like what can you say to a person like that? I've encountered several of these kinds of people, and it really frustrates me because there's nothing you can say, because usually they know that they should go vegan. Usually, they agree with you, but they just don't want to, or they don't give a shit, or they're very entrenched in their habits, I guess. Like, let me know if you have any advice for dealing with those kinds of people, because I usually just hit like a standstill at some point. It's just really annoying. Wheeler explained that while a well-planned vegan diet is necessary and might not be for everyone, well, it is, though, and should revolve around a variety of whole foods to deliver maximum nutrition. Many new vegans eat the same foods every day, probably due to thinking that there's a lack of options on a vegan diet. Where's the evidence that many new vegans eat the same foods every day? Like, anyway, that seems kind of like an unscientific claim. And then her also saying that it might not be for everyone. Well, yeah, it is for everyone. Everyone should stop exploiting animals. Like, that's kind of the problem when looking at it from a health perspective. Obviously, you need to eat a variety of foods to be healthy. Like, that makes sense. But it doesn't suddenly cause veganism not to be for everyone. Like, okay. Overall, only 8% of non-vegan Gen Zers simply refused to go vegan, with 9% saying that vegan food was boring and only 6% stating vegan food was expensive. I think those are incredible percentages. Like only 9% saying that vegan food is boring. Like I hear that from people all the time. 6% saying that vegan food is expensive. I hear that even more, I think. But I guess Gen Zers are more educated about that, and they know that vegan food can be delicious if you make it delicious. Vegan food doesn't have to be expensive. It depends on what you buy. It's really great that Gen Zers are more educated on that, and they know the options that they have and their implications and what it means. But in that case, I would definitely want to see more Gen Zers go vegan if they have that knowledge, you know? And I think there's like a disconnect, maybe, especially with 50% saying that they simply don't want to give up meat, which is like not even a rational excuse. I think plant based eating is definitely going to be on the up and on the increase in my generation. But whether veganism, like ethical veganism, will be is a different question, because this survey doesn't really say much about that. But I do think like the more normal that veganism or plant-based eating is, the less there's a barrier to go there, because once someone is already eating plant-based, it's like, oh well, sure, I'll also do it for the animals, right? I think it's a good thing, like if you start with going vegan or plant-based as a health or environmental thing, and then learn more about the ethics and go towards the ethics. But definitely it should be about ethics, because otherwise there's all kinds of exceptions that you can make. Do social media influencers play a role in inspiring Gen Z to go vegan? According to this survey, only 3% of respondents admitted to influencers that influencers had anything to do with their decision. Only 3%? Really? That seems like astoundingly low. Like, I think maybe they won't admit to it or something. But wow, that's crazy. I wouldn't have expected that. A unifying factor was that all respondents surveyed indicated a confusion around the term flexitarian, with 73% of non vegans and 52% of vegans indicating that they did not know the term's definition. Yeah, flexitarian is a very vague term in general, because it basically just means reducing your animal products. That could go from like twice a day to once a day. That could go from 7 times a week to 4 times a week. It's not a very useful term, because technically everyone could label themselves a definition. There's not like a cutoff or a minimum or maximum involved. It's just I decided to eat meat like one time less every month, and I'm a flexitarian now. I've noticed that, especially in my country, in the Netherlands, there's like a rising percentage of people who identify as flexitarians. And the problem with that is it doesn't really mean anything. Like, I think it might be useful when it functions as a transition from regular, traditional omnivore diet towards a vegan diet. Like, flexitarian might be a transitional term, but since it's a term that exists in itself, people might get stuck on it and just identify as that forever, and not budge on anything else, which is kind of what I'm worried about, is that what should be a transition term is just its own movement, I guess. I believe that plant-based diets, at least more incorporation of plant-based meals within our daily diet, will continue to increase, Wheeler said. That's a great thing. Between sustainability, environment, and costs of the current way, the trend to change is looming. I agree. I think definitely veganism is on the increase. I think it will definitely continue to be better and to be more normal every single year as this goes on. And that's great, because the more normal it is, the more people will go vegan. I think most people just want to be normal, and once veganism is a normal thing, it'll be way easier for people to step over that barrier that they have. So yeah, that was the article. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, let me know what you thought, and yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.